Don't look at me like that, you judgy weirdos. Dead Cells. It's fucking great. Normally, I'd hard stop the video at this point, but I feel like I'd be doing this game a goddamn disservice. This is going to be a bit difficult to do, because Dead Cells is one of the most beloved games in the modern roguelike genre, alongside Hades, the original Rogue Legacy. If you have a passing familiarity with the genre at all, you know Dead Cells is a huge deal. So I'm going to be doing things a little differently. I'm Maiden, and I'm going to tell you what's good about Dead Cells in 2022. Now, you're probably saying, Mojo, you wise man you, why would you choose a year for a game specifically? The reason I say this, and I can't stress this enough, is because Dead Cells came out... Wait, when did Dead Cells come out again? Let me check my notes. Five years ago. Wait, 5 years? This guy came out 5 fucking years ago? I am turning to dust as I speak. Okay, existential crisis aside, 5 years is a long time in video game internet time, so how does it hold up? Pretty goddamn well, because Motion Twin has released 2 paid expansions and 31 free updates as of the recording of this video. Sweet mother of Primus. That's a lot of new shit, and there's more being added all the time, and it's awesome. The amount of love that Motion Twin has been giving Dead Cells is fucking rad. New weapons, items, mutations, enemies, bosses, biomes, secrets. The most recent additions of a boss rush mode and being able to play as Shovel Knight and other indie game characters. Yes, you can do that, and it's rad. Hell, they even added more story and endings. Oh yeah, there's a story here as well. You play as the prisoner, a weird blob thing that inhabits whatever corpses you find at the starting area to fight your way through the center of a monster-infested island to kick the shit out of its king. I'm all for kicking ass in the ruins of dead kingdoms and eventually beating up their undying monarchs. It's clear that Hades is where the narrative ambitions of roguelikes can be fully explored. But seriously, it's a fun time, and the prisoner himself is a great character, foregoing voiced speech and communicating entirely through pantomimed body language to get their snark across. It's great. Then there's the mechanics. Even with all of the additions I've just mentioned, don't obscure the fact that this is an action platform and roguelike. But to describe it as such would be doing it a disservice. It's one of the best playing and feeling examples in this genre. Hell, it's been aped so much because it's so good, and the imitators still can't get themselves to feel as good as Dead Cells. A lot of this comes down to the fluidity of the controls, the punchiness of the feedback when fighting stuff, and the different feelings of all the weapons. When you move in Dead Cells, you move, turn, and stop on a dime. The game gives you so much control over your place on the screen that you can't help but get into a flow state when your combat starts. And combat feels great despite the simplicity of it. You get 2 weapon slots and 2 slots for traps and items like bombs. I never use the traps or bombs because I forget that I have them most of the time. Anyways, this ties into the weapons that you have, which range from the simple, like the starting sword that you have, and goes into even wilder directions like greatswords, lightning whips, hammers, your goddamn feet, and even fucking frying pans tied together that function like nunchucks called the panchaku. And no, I'm not making this up because the weapons here are fucking ridiculous. You also get a singular frying pan if that's somehow too ridiculous for you. Seriously, you know a game has a great sense of humor when a singular frying pan is considered the subtle option. The best part of Dead Cells is the amount of decision making the player has at a meta level and a moment-to-moment level. When you go through each area, you find new weapons and items to swap out for more powerful versions of stuff that you currently have, or something new entirely. All items are split across 3 categories. Red for brutality, focusing on a faster pace with higher damage. Purple for tactics, focusing on ranged weapons and traps in exchange for being a glass cannon. And finally, green for survival, which opts for making you as thick as possible with a big fuck-off weapon at the cost of range and speed. They can be fully focused on or mixed and matched for something truly wild, and I recommend experimenting with each. In between each biome, you run into the Collector, who will give you new items based on the randomly dropped blueprints that you find in exchange for the eponymous cells that you get from dead enemies for the requisite upgrades that make your life on the island much easier. I guess Dead Cells really loves the enemies we killed along the way. It can also give you access to new rooms in the prisoners' quarters, like the training room and a tailor shop to change into new outfits. All this combined makes for the fullest experience I've had in a roguelike possibly ever. I could genuinely talk your ear off about how much stuff is in this particular video game, but I'm not going to do that because I have a self-imposed limit on myself at the moment. I will say this though, Dead Cells is one of the standouts of the roguelike genre, and if you also want a game that will give you a shit ton of content for a fair asking price, go with Dead Cells. You won't be disappointed. Oh, and one last thing. A friend pointed out to me that this game's aesthetic is essentially a playable Iron Maiden music video, but with the prisoner instead of Eddie, and oh god, here, take this montage.